the 28th chapter of the book of Yeshayah. We ended yesterday with a great messianic vision, the last chapter, and today it's not going to be as great. Hoi ateret geyut, shikorei Ephraim v'tzitz novel tzvi tifarto, ashel al rosh gei shimanim halume yayin. Oh, the proud crowns of Ephraim, the northern kingdom, right? They're so proud, but they are drunkards, whose beauty is nothing but wilted flowers. On their heads, this bloated, rich foods. They're overcome by wine, right? This is what they have. They think they're so great. They think so glorious, but it's just wilted flowers. Hine chazak v'amitz la'Adonai kezerem barad sha'ar katev, kezerem mayim kapirim shotfim hiniach la'aretz biyad. So we have there the phrase that we've had in the past in the book of Yeshua and the Torah, chazak v'amatz. Be strong and be courageous. So God has something strong and mighty that's going to happen to you. A storm of hail, pestilence, a massive torrential rain will be thrown against you in the ground. It's interesting to think about here. Chazak v'amatz, as I said, was used in the first chapter numerous times of the book of Yehoshua, used with Moshe when he was appointing Yehoshua as his successor. And the most famous person from the tribe of Ephraim is Yehoshua ben Nun. And so to me, it appears that this phrase is being used purposefully to the readers of the Tanakh to say, Yehoshua was the one who's supposed to be chazak v'amatz. You, the northern kingdom, the tribe led by the tribe of Ephraim, you have not taken these words correctly in the way you were supposed to. Baraglayim ter masna ateret geyut shikurei Ephraim. They will be trampled underfoot, the proud crowns, those drunkards of Ephraim. V'haitat tzitzit novel tzvi tifarto, asher al rosh gei shimanim k'vikura b'terem kaitz asher yireh haroeh ota ba'oda b'chafo yiv la'ena. Those wilted flowers, the ones again with the rich foods. He uses the same phrase he used back in verse 2. With their glorious beauty, they're going to be like the earliest figs, right? The first fruits that start to come up. The ones that will be devoured. They're going to be yivla'ena. They will be devoured like the first early ones, because the animals are so hungry that the first figs, the first fruits that come up, they will grab all of them, and they will be destroyed. Bayomahu, we're in verse 5. Bayomahu, on that day, Yadonai tzvot la'teretz tzvi l'tzvirat tifara l'sha'ar amo. On that day, God will have the crown of beauty. Right, the same phrase that he used to say that Ephraim, you think you have a crown of beauty, but that's not true. You are just drunkards. God, on that day, with the destruction of the wicked, his glory will remain for those who remain. Ruach mishpat le'yosheva mishpat le'govra mishivei milchama shara. And the spirit of judgment and valor will be those who keep the attackers at the gate. And here, attackers, I don't think means physical attackers. I think it means, in a sense, spiritual attackers, those who continue to keep God's words. V'gam eila b'yayin shagu v'shechar ta'u. But these as well, and presumably the commentaries understand that this phrase, but these as well, refers to the people of Yerushalayim, perhaps, the Jews of Israel, or the Jews of Jerusalem, the Judeans, that they're also muddled with wine. They are drunk with their liquor. Kohen v'navi shagu v'ashechar nivla'u min hayayin ta'u min hashechar shagu baroeh paku plila. Again, they're confused by the wine, the liquor, their visions, their stumble in judgment. Ki kol shulchanot maleah ki so'a b'li mako. All their tables are filled with vomit, with filth, that no space is left. And this is referring to, you could say, it could be it's filled with pagan deities, as some of the commentaries Rashi say. Others say the issue is that, as Yeshayah has spoken about before, that they are taking advantage of the weak and of those who should be helped by those who have it in society. And mi yored deah, to whom should he give instruction? Vet mi yavin shmua. Who's going to listen to the message? Who's going to hear it? Those weaned from milk, those just taken away from their mother's breast, meaning the elderly, not the elderly, but those who are the adults who are not treating the poor, who are worshiping other gods, they're not going to listen to the message. So maybe we could teach this to the children. Start again. Kitzav latzav, one of the more famous verses because of the alliteration and the poetry here in this verse 10 of Yeshayah. Kitzav latzav, tzav latzav, kav lakav, kav lakav, zeir sham, zeir sham. They mutter upon mutter and murmur upon murmur and here and there. Right, so it sounds. What does this verse mean? It's not clear. One of the interesting interpretations that I saw, kav sounds like in verse 8, ki, which meant vomit, and tzav sounds a lot like so'ah, which means filth. Right, so and it's supposed to be. It's sort of like jumbled. Does this tzav could mean a direction? It could be like a tzivui, like a mitzvah. Kav could mean a line. Follow the directions, follow the lines, right? A little here, a little there, now here, now there. Or is it because they're not doing it? Does it mean mutters and murmurs? We don't understand. Does it mean vomit? Does it mean throw up? The people, they're confused. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Ki v'lagei safau v'lashon acheret. Truly, as one speaks to people who are stammering, who we don't understand. Yidaber el amazeh. It's like they're speaking an alien tongue, right? You don't understand. The leaders are trying to. Some people, God, my message to you is to be ethical, to listen to God, to not worship other gods. But that's not what you're getting. You don't get the message. It's all just gibberish. Asher amar lehem zot hamnucha inichu la'ayif v'zot hamar ge'ah v'lo avu shmoa. It's like they're being declared, this is the resting place. This is where the weary should rest. This is the place, right? Give them comfort. Help those, is what the prophet's saying to them. But they are not listening. V'haya lahem dvar Adonai, again, tzav latzav, tzav latzav, kav lakav, kav lakav, zeir sham, laman yelchu v'chashlu achor v'nishperu v'nukshu v'nilkadu. So right there, and here he uses a little different, right? Mutter upon mutter, or vomit upon vomit, however you want to understand it. They will march, but they will fall backward and be injured. They will be captured. And again, different ideas of understanding as to who this is referring to. You can understand, as I said above, maybe referring to the people of Jerusalem, maybe referring to the people of Ephraim, as was mentioned earlier. And there are those who claim, no, it's referring to the enemies of Israel, who in the past chapters, going back 5, 6, 7 chapters, like the Assyrians and the Babylonians, will be defeated. That's referring to them, that they will be defeated when they go in their lines to destroy Jerusalem, the destruction that happened during the time of Chizkiyahu with the Sancherev and his men running away after surrounding Jerusalem. Lachein, therefore, we're in verse 14. Shemu dvar Adonai anshe latzon, moshlei ha'am hazeh asher b'Yerushalayim. And therefore, now hear the word of God, you scoffers, the people who govern in Jerusalem. So certainly here it's referring to Jerusalem. And that's one of the reasons why we could say maybe the earlier one is continuing with this idea, because he was speaking with Jerusalem. Again, all different understandings. And truth is, much of this message, it's relevant then, it's relevant today, it's relevant to the people in New York and Boston, not the people in DC. So that's part of the reason it can oftentimes be used to understand anything. Ki amartem karatnu vrit et mavet v'im sheol asinu chozeh shotef ki ya'avor v'lo yevo'enu ki samnu chazav machsenu v'sheker nistarnu. Because you said, you made a covenant with death, right? You've made a pact with Shaol, with the underworld, right? The flood is going to pass. It's not going to reach us. We will take refuge. Lachen ko amar Adonai Elohim inni yisad b'tzion Even bochan pinat yikarat musad ama'amin lo yachish. What did God say? I will find in Zion a stone, a tower, a precious tower, which will be strong and which you do not have to fear. V'samti mishpat lakav u'tzedakah lemishkelet v'ya'av v'arad machseh chazav v'seiter mayim yishtofu. But I will apply judgment again with this kav, with this measuring line, and retribution. Instead of that tzav, here we have tzedakah. And right, we will, with again, barad is used a few times. With hail, we will sweep away those who bring about falsehoods, and those who are causing problems, those who should be giving refuge but are not giving shelter to those who need refuge. V'chupar britchem et mavet v'chazutchem et sha'ol lo takum shot shotef Ki yavor v'yitem lo limirmas. And the covenant with death shall be annulled. Right? You think you're going to die. It's not going to happen. There's going to be kapara. You won't go down to Sheol, to the underworld. The flood will pass. And right, you will be its victims. Midei avro yikachet ken kiva boker baboker yavor bayomu v'alayla v'hayarak ziva'ah hevin shmua. And it'll catch you every time it goes through, whether it be morning or night, the horrors, those who do not grasp the message. If you don't grasp the message of God, this destruction will continue to happen. Water, or fire, death, destruction, and again, all sorts of different understandings. The Abarbanel, for example, says it's referring to Nebuchadnezzar's destruction of Jerusalem, because Jerusalem doesn't get destroyed by Sancherev, as we read in the book of Melachim. Continuing in verse 20, Ki katzara matzah mehis tare v'hamasecha tzara kihit kanes. The couch is too short for stretching out. And the cover is too narrow for curling up, right? You won't be able to be protected. You won't be able to lie on your couches. Ki chahar peratzim yakum Adonai ke'imek begivon yirgaz lasot maseu zar maseu v'lavod avodoto nochriya avodoto. For God will arise like he arose in Givon with his anger. And a terrible thing will happen there, as has happened in the past. And those who understand that Givon is referring to some of the battles during the wars of King David, where the Philistines were defeated in miraculous ways. And the Givon is going back all the way to the book of Yoshua as well, because that's where Shemesh Dome B'Givon, if you remember. Something that's very difficult to explain, where Yoshua asked God, and they said that the sun stayed in the sky for more than the time, and discussed whether it was some sort of eclipse or something. They thought it was going dark, but then it became light again. All the way back there, that sort of wonders are what's going to happen. V'yata al titlo tzitzu pen yichseku mos rechem. So refrain from mockery. Let your bonds tighten. Ki chalav v'nechritzah shamati meit Adonai Elohim tzvaot al kol haaretz. Because I've heard a decree of destruction from God against all of the land. Again, the destruction is going to happen. You need to remain with God. You need to have hope, and you don't have it, and you need to treat people well. Ha'azinu v'shim'u koli, hakshivu v'shim'u imrati. So listen to my words carefully. Listen to what I say. It sounds like Parshat Ha'azinu, Ha'azinu Hashamayim v'adabera. Tishmar, it's in Rifi, it's the right. Yeshayah says it here. Ha'azin and Shimu. Listen carefully. You're not listening at all. Hakol hayom yacharosh hachoresh lizroa yiftach vishadeid admato. Right. Those who plow to sow, they plow all the time, breaking up and putting furrows in their land. Haloim shiva paneve hifitz ketzach lechamon yizrok v'sham chita shora usara nisman kesemet gvulato. And when they've smoothed the surface, and they, try to have black cumin, and the cumin scatters, or they have wheat or barley, all these different things. V'yisrola mishpat Elohev yorenu. Right? What happens is they're taught by God. God instructs them. Right? They think that things are going to be spread properly, and the barley's going to come here, and the cumin or the spelt is going to be there, and the wheat is going to be here, but it's not going to turn out the way that they think. Because they're taught, they're going to be taught by God the same way. It doesn't always happen that your crops come out right. God has instructed the land to make sure this doesn't happen, because you're not listening to my words and the words of the prophets. Kilo becharus yudash ketzach va'ofan agalal kamon yusav kivamate yechabet ketzach v'chamon b'shevet. So too, the black cumin is not threshed with the threshing board, nor is the wheel rolled over cumin. The black cumin is beaten out, and the cumin with the rod. I'm not a cumin farmer, so it's hard for me to explain this fully. I do like Mediterranean cooking, and therefore I use a lot of cumin when I cook. But right, the cumin is easily beaten by the rod. You will easily be beaten by the rod. Lechem yudak kilola netzach adosh yedushenu. Your lechem, your bread, your cereal will be crushed, even if it's threshed thoroughly. The hamam gilgaleg lato for ashav lo yidu kenu. and you'll be overwhelmed by the wheel, the sledge of horses. It will not be crushed. Okay, so here again, the sense of the sense of destruction of different things. Gamzot meim Adonai tzvot yatzai falei tzai deal tushia. This too is ordered by God, whose counsel is unfathomable and whose wisdom is marvelous. So here too, unclear as to who exactly we're referring to, and of course, then it could be the complete opposite, sort of, as it's referring to the destruction of the Babylonians, referring to the destruction of the Assyrians, is referring to the destructions of the Israelites, of the people of Yehuda. And to me, at least, it makes sense in some ways that it's referring to the people of Yehuda, because this could also, interestingly, you could look at this prophecy. You could say, when are these prophecies being given? Is it being given before the destruction of Ephraim? And so it's a warning to the northern kingdom and then also to the southern kingdom. But Yeshayah mostly really speaks to the southern kingdom. He's based in Yerushalayim. His understanding is that he's from the royal families. He's cousins with the kings. And so you might say this is after the destruction of Ephraim. And Yeshayah's words here are, look what happened to them, even though it's sort of said in the future, because of their arrogance and because they thought they had such beauty, but they were idol worshipers, and they didn't treat the poor and the unwell in a proper fashion. And just know, people of Yehuda, it's not immune. It can happen to you as well. So please listen carefully to my words so that it does not happen to you. Unfortunately, we know that, of course, it will and did happen.